Yo, 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 what it is, what it was, what's it gonna be?
Welcome.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Gen Expertise podcast, episode 34. Oh, that's that Walter Payton.
Oh
Actually,
yeah.
nah, we're New Yorkers, yo. That's Charles Oakley. That's Charles Oakley, son.
Yeah, keep it
This
New York.
episode is entitled Return of the Boom Bap and the Dual Parent Resurgence, kind of. We are your hosts, Main and Rants,
Welcome.
a.k.a. the Podcast Marauders, yo. Give it up. What's good, my brother?
Everything's good, man. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to those who celebrate. Happy Resurrection Day to those who celebrate.
Yeah, we're recording this on Easter Sunday.
Easter Sunday.
By the time you get this on Wednesday.
Yes. By the time you get this podcast, we'll be gone.
We'll be in an undisclosed location by the time you hear this.
Yeah. I hope y'all had a good day hunting Easter eggs, eating chocolate bunnies,
Eating peeps.
and eating peeps and all those things. Peeps are kind of like what's the Halloween candy that we talked about in one
Oh
of
yeah,
our
peeps.
earlier
Peeps are the candy corn of Easter. Except that they don't taste as bad, you know.
They got
But
weird
yeah.
little black eyeballs.
Yeah.
You know what I
No,
mean?
but they have all sorts of peeps. They got the But you're right. They do still have the little black
Yeah,
eyeballs.
they're odd looking, man.
Because I was just thinking like they made bunnies instead of just a peep. You could get peep bunnies now. You could get all sorts of flavors. You get chocolate covered peeps.
You
They
can
got
even get
Rice
that
Krispie Keeps.
chocolate-less Cadbury eggs now, apparently, since
Oh yeah,
since
yeah.
they don't.
Whatever they're using in place of chocolate.
It's not 100%
You know,
chocolate.
no, like, but I saw recently there's a video where they're using chocolate, but they're using some sort of lab grown chocolate. So it's still chocolate on like a cellular level, but
Yeah.
but it's
It's Xerox machine chocolate.
but it's not. Yeah, somehow it's not natural from a cacao pod. Like they're somehow recreating that same cocoa, but without the cacao. So it's probably like a fraction of the time it takes to grow the cacao and harvest it and ship it and all that stuff. So yeah,
So
if that
there
makes
you go.
anybody feel better,
Yeah, that does
it's still cacao. It's still
still
at a cellular
cacao.
level.
but it's made in a Xerox copy machine. So there you go.
Yeah, the same as
You
the lab grown meat. At a cellular level, it's still the same
Technically,
animal technically, but it's like a
a loophole is a loophole, bro.
Yeah, I don't know
saying?
what to make of this stuff, man. To be honest
Yeah,
with you, but
son. That's why I try to stick with the old reliable jelly beans, yo. But even those have all the
But,
dyes and
yeah,
the stuff.
yeah, like I was about to say, you sticking the jelly beans with the whatever's in it, like
Yo,
what
they
is
got
it?
the
What's
new
in
blue
those? The
raspberry
gelatin?
flavor.
Of course, they got blue
It's
raspberry.
gelatin. Who
Is
knows
it gelatin,
Who
sugar?
knows? It's probably not even gelatin anymore, yo. It's just
Yeah.
probably just straight melted down sugar in a
Plastic.
hard plastic, edible plastic
Tupperware.
coating. It's edible
Some
plastic coating.
recycled Tupperware.
Or the coating that they put on the fruit now, you know, that wax coating that they spray on the fruit. They
Yeah.
probably just
Yeah.
spray 100 layers of the wax coating on the fruit so they can call it. But anyway, happy Easter to those.
Yeah, put that in your Easter basket.
Yeah. So, Return of the Boom Bap and the Dual Parent Resurgence. So the other day, maybe some of you might have seen it because it's been popping up along on Instagram and in social media how kids growing up in two-parent household has risen above 70% for the first time in over 30 years. So I got a little excited. And of course, when I get a little excited, I be like, yo, man, let's make a podcast about it. This is a show. But come to find out, it was 30 years ago. But this stat was taken from the it was taken the Census Bureau. I'm sorry, brain fart. The Census Bureau, and it was from 2020. But it has shown that since 2023, it has risen to 71%.
Right.
So I got a little happy about that until I saw the actual demographics, and then Jermaine had to actually show me the demographics, And so it's still
Well,
good.
it's still good, right? Like there's still
Yeah.
like just to for my take on it is
Yeah.
that it's actually good, right? It's going in a positive direction. But
Yes.
when you told me about it, like we had the discussion, and at first I was kind of excited too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously we know the importance and or like the impact, I should say,
Yes.
of growing up in a two-parent household. There's all sorts of benefits to that that we'll get into in probably a little while, but I was excited for that reason. And when I looked into it, it seemed like it was just like a very slight a very slight increase. And then
Yes.
when you look on a longer time span, there's actually been a decline overall. But then in the like
Mhm.
you said, in the most recent years, there's been a slight uptick, right? So it's still a reason to be happy because in general, there's an uptick in that.
Yeah.
But overall, since like the 1960s or so, there's been a steady decline for a
Yeah.
number of reasons, man. Like people are getting married later.
Mm-hmm.
People are more focused on their career aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are not getting married at all. Younger people are finding it harder to find gainful employment after graduating from school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's leading to delays and even creating a family or getting married. So
Right.
there's all sorts of reasons why that number would stay kind of still for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But the slight uptick is still a reason to be kind of hopeful and positive about that because like I said, like we know the impact of growing up in a
And the dual.
two parent household, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so so yeah, but like you said, like when I was looking into it, and it's like you said, like I think it was like 65% between 20 2022 and 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
65% of children lived in a household with two married parents, and then if you added another 5% for those that were living in a household with unmarried
The,
parents, right? Like, so that
the
just means that maybe
cohabitation.
they're cohabitating, they're not
Mm-hmm.
formally married, but both parents are still in the home, then that bumps it up, right? And then when you go to 2023 census data, then you get to like 71.1% since 1990, right? So it's still a reason to kind of to be hopeful. Like I said, like it's not exactly a reason to throw a party or anything or to think that there's a
Yeah.
dramatic shift. But it's still a reason to be kind of hopeful that more and more kids will grow up with both their parents in the home. And 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 that's not to say that that's always the ideal situation. Depending, it all depends, right? Like all of these things depend on the circumstance, they depend on the people, and each situation is very subjective and individual, right? So yeah, so that's kind of my my take on the initial findings, right?
So, as two black males, our perspective is basically from the black male perspective. We can't speak for any other
Sure.
demographic. So we're just speaking from the lens of Maine and Rants. You know what I mean?
The views brought to you by Main and Reds don't necessarily represent the views of, well, I guess it does represent Gen Expertise podcast as a whole. Can't can't put this just on it. Can't even put this on anybody. We should have had a guest on this
We
one so
should
we
have a
could
guest on
we,
the
so whatever controversial statement comes out of this, we can blame it on the
Uh-huh.
guest. But next time.
I do have the breakdown here, the demographic breakdown.
Okay.
So out of the overall 71%, how it breaks down is 81% Asian, 75% white, non-Hispanic, 60% Hispanic, and 38% black.
And so
So
and so we're saying, just to kind of clarify a little bit, we're saying like so out of Asian households, 81% of them would be dual parent households,
dual parent households,
right?
yeah.
And then out of all the households with children that are Hispanic, what's the percentage?
Hispanic is 60,
So 60% of those households with children, they would be dual parent. And then what's the percentage again for white?
75%.
75%. And
Mm-hmm.
then for black or African American, what was the percentage there?
38%.
38%.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, 38%. With and then as of 2023 through 2025, it rose to 42 to 44%. 4.6% for the Black community, with 38% married, and I believe between 4 and 7% not married but cohabitating.
Okay.
Yeah. So the numbers for us is kind of staggering.
Yeah.
We need to bring black love again. We were just talking about Claudine and stuff and them making it work. We're all about pop culture and stuff. We need to bring back like the Claudine movies. We need to bring back like the Love Jones movies. We need to bring back
Yeah.
the Love and Basketball and the Brown Sugar movies, man. We need to bring back R&B and love songs. You know what I'm saying? We need to attack this on all fronts, man.
Yeah.
You know what
Unpopular
I'm saying?
opinion.
Uh-huh.
I don't count Love and Basketball in that, and it's not really one of my favorite.
No?
Nah, I didn't really care for that movie too much. I thought it was a little bit. I don't even know what the words are, but
Thought it was cheesy?
yeah, something like that. Like I just didn't like. It was just like, come on, man. It just made no sense. And I know, like I said, I know it's an unpopular opinion, man, but I didn't get it. Like
You know,
I
so you ain't
kind.
like the part when they was hooping and she was like, I'll play
She
you
wanted to
one on
play
one.
you for
He
your
was like,
heart.
what's for one? She was like, for your heart.
I'm gonna play you one-on-one for your heart.
Yeah.
And I know people love that
He
movie. My wife
basically
loves the
looked at her
movie.
though. He was like, yo, get out of here with that. Do you know what I'm
Yeah, like,
saying?
but that's how I felt when she said it. When I watched the
Then,
movie, I was like, oh man,
then he
get out of here
proceeded
with
to
this.
the thrasher on the basketball
Yeah.
court.
It was just, yeah, not to get too far over on a tangent, but I felt the same way. Like when he said, you know, like when he had that look on his face, like you said, like what? Like I felt the same thing. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
But Love
Who
Jones,
wrote
son.
this?
But
Yeah,
Love Jones.
Love Jones is really good.
Yo, I feel Love Jones is the perfect. If you want to take a time capsule and look at Black love in the 90s, in the late 80s to 90s, that Love Jones is where it's at, son. Like,
I
it's
like Love Jones a
tumultuous.
lot. Like Love Jones is a good one.
Yeah, man. It's like two people that really, really love each other, but they can't make it work, but they try to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, it's something
mm-hmm.
realistic about it. And it's something like,
Yeah.
you know, that resonates. But yeah, Love and Basketball.
Yeah, son. I guess that's for the hoopers, man. That's for the sports act of
Maybe,
the
yeah,
hoopers.
maybe, man, maybe,
You know?
but I
It-
what if it was like Love and Football? Like, or Love and Soccer, or Love
Yeah,
and
but loving football doesn't really work because you need the woman to be the same sports player. So, or I guess you can do love and football and have like American football and soccer. So she could be like a soccer player and then he could be a football
I don't know,
player.
man.
But
I
it
don't
just
know.
doesn't have the right ring.
It's almost as
Yo,
bad
even
as
the poster
loving.
with them like kissing with holding the basketball in one
Yeah,
hand. You
what?
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. No,
Yes,
everything about it, man. Like we need to. I could do a whole podcast about just that movie, man. From the from the poster to how it started, like it was just crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
nah, but shout out to Omar Epps and Sanaa Lathan. Like those are some of my favorite actors. They're in that mix of like my favorites, like my top 10. They're in there, you know.
Yeah.
But nah, that was a. Yeah, that movie's
I
a
like
dud,
that movie.
man. Like
I
I'm
like the movie. So we could agree on Love Jones though, because Love Jones.
Nah,
was
Love Jones is a
and it had the
classic.
banging soundtrack too.
Yeah, Love Jones is a classic. The soundtrack's good. It had a lot of like good kind of surrounding cast in it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Bellamy's in that joint. Like, yeah,
that's right. Bill Bellamy is in it.
Yeah, it has like a good mix of people in it. The storyline is pretty realistic and cool, you know.
Yeah. So but anyway, we don't have movies like that anymore.
But anyway, yeah, to your point, we need more
I mean?
like love stories and stuff like that. But I mean, but we could probably point out a number of reasons why, right, that would, you know, like this is a hard one because we're talking about the numbers are the numbers, right? Like, so if they're saying that at a rate of 33% with children in the household, that Black people have 33% dual parent households, right? and that's over
38, 38%.
38%, 38%,
38%.
sorry. Yeah. I think the interesting thing to point out is that according to the CDC, there's kind of like contradicting information to that, where it says that fathers, Black fathers are probably the most involved overall out of any demographic, at least when it comes to the day-to-day activities of the children, right? Like we're talking about bathing, mealtime,
Yeah.
getting them dressed, reading to them at night and stuff like that. Black fathers have a tendency to be more involved than other fathers, right? Like at least with those day-to-day activities, right? At like a 70% rate. And then compared to like 60% of, white fathers and about 45% Hispanic. So the data is kind of contradictory to me, but if we have to, got to accept the numbers, I
Gotta
guess.
accept the numbers, yeah.
But there's a lot of reasoning behind, I think, why over the years fathers might be absent from the household as well. And we could point to a lot of data around like mass incarceration. Because I don't know if you ever have you ever read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow?
I actually have. Yes, I have.
So I don't have the exact numbers, but she talks a lot about the impacts of mass incarceration, and I think even the subtitle I think is like mass incarceration in the age of colorblindness. But it talks a lot about the impacts not only on the individual that's being incarcerated, but on the community at large, and on the family structure especially. Over the years, just anecdotally, like you said, like I can only speak as a Black man, right? Like so, growing up, there's kind of the negative stereotype of the Black father as missing from the home, right? And one of the things that I think is actually being left out of the conversation is stuff like mass incarceration and the over policing of Black, like neighborhoods that may be predominantly having a Black demographic as the predominant number, right? So when you factor that in, according to Michelle Alexander's work, she's saying that it's not an exaggeration to say that these people, and I'm paraphrasing this, but it's not an exaggeration to say that Black men were pretty much kidnapped from the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So for the same crimes that other demographics may get a slap on the wrist, or they may get parole or whatever the case may be, probation, Black people were getting like, disproportionate sentencing in terms of like time in jail. So when you do that, you're taking away the Black male out of the community and you're incarcerating them for, double-digit years, and then asking where are the fathers, right? And that's not exactly, I don't see that factored in to these numbers sometimes. Like whether you're talking about the CDC or any other like data collection agency, like it factors in stuff like education level, right? Like they may correct for education level, because when you look at the education level, the numbers start to rise across all demographics. So when you talk about like college educated women, I think the number goes to like 80% or so of dual parent households.
Dual parent households, yeah.
And then the number starts to drop off when you talk about like non-college educated women, right? And then when you correct for income, the same thing happens, right? Like, so my point in saying that is that when you add certain factors to data, because numbers could be, numbers are the numbers, right? And I don't want to I don't want to come off like I'm making some sort of excuse, or I'm kind of defending anything, right? Like, but what I'm saying is that
numbers are the numbers, but when you think about it at the same time, numbers can be fudged just by adding or subtracting certain criterias as well.
Right. I think that's what I'm trying to say. The same way you could correct for education level, the same way you can correct for income levels, you can correct for I would say like external disruption, right? I don't know exactly like all the ways that you need to correct for that, but I think that people like Michelle Alexander would be folks that could come with the data and statistics, right? Like they would be able to tell you like, hey, in this time period, and I wish I had done this type of research. I didn't expect to go there in terms of like our conversation, but when I'm thinking about it, you and I grew up in the 80s, and that's the peak of the war on drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's what kind of leads me to think about this in terms, like when you look at that number, right, the 33 or 38%, that's kind of a stark difference between black men or black families and their counterparts. It's a very stark difference, and I'm always led to wonder why or how did we get to this point, right? And I see things not as like single events or not as like single points in time, but as part of a continuum. Our presence here is obviously a continuum of our family human to be prolific, like we say, like,
Because
you
we
know,
are prolific.
because we are prolific. But
Mm-hmm.
seriously, like everything that you see today is part of a continuum, and it's not just an individual event. It's not just an individual point in time that exists in any sort of vacuum. And that's why I'm saying like it's not an excuse, but so much like as a kind of a me asking, how did we get to this point? And I think over the years, if we look at it, there was a point at which the dual parent household would have been more prevalent years
Mm-hmm.
ago, right? And I feel like there's been a disruption in that, the same as any other disruption of black people's progress or black people's kind of like mainstream participation, right?
Mm-hmm.
In any way, right? Whether it be in economic factors, whether it be in education. So you have to factor in you have to factor in kind of external disruption, right?
Yeah.
Because that, like I said, is going to impact the economic situation. It's going to impact your education. It's going to impact your ability to take advantage of opportunities. And it's going to also impact your likelihood of having like those successful relationships that lead to a traditional marriage or traditional cohabitation even. And not to go into all the factors that would lead to like kind of a war on drugs and then, what seems like an external force actually flooding the community
Mm-hmm.
with a substance and then
Yeah.
arresting them for for using it or selling it or having anything
Mm-hmm.
to do with anybody that did. Um
And
to me,
disproportionable amounts, as they would say, right?
yeah, it's
Disproportionate, disproportionate amount.
yeah, yeah, disproportionate. Yeah, it's
There you
disproportionate, right?
go.
Like so,
That's the
yeah,
word I was looking for.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I always give you the ChatGPT correction of
I
the word,
appreciate it.
but
I just gotta throw the alley oop up to you, yo. Am I my
anyway,
brother's keeper? You know?
yes, I
There you,
am.
there you go.
But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't want to beat that to death. But like what I'm saying is that none of this stuff exists in a vacuum, and out of all demographics, and especially in the United States, you know, is it's undeniable that a particular demographic has been constantly kind of interrupted and disrupted over the years, and that would lead to kind of a difficulty in participating in kind of what you would call like um mainstream tradition
Mm-hmm.
overall, not whether it be marriage or dual parent household, whether it be like traditional roles in the workforce,
Mm-hmm.
traditional kind of paths in education. I feel like all of that is impacted when you get the type of disruption that blacks, that African Americans and black people overall have experienced. Even with all that said, right, there's a certain amount of like responsibility and accountability that lies with us as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where some of this is just a matter of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know, man. Like, it's a tough one. And
Yeah.
then when you think about it, man, like I want to know, like I would ask you, like, what do you like? What's the so what, so to speak? Like, like what's the so what of it all in terms of like what you think of as like the impact? Like, who cares if both parents live in the household or not? I'm just saying that as a like devil's
Yeah.
advocate, like just hypothetically, so what, right? Like, what does that matter in the
Yeah.
big scheme of things? Like some of the most successful people that we have in the black community may have grown up in a one parent household. I even threw in like not only successful black people, but like even the most successful superheroes. I used to say they lost their parents.
They lost their parents
they
at
lost
birth.
they lost their parents, and then
Superman,
and then
Batman.
they lost their parents early, and the success like just took off from
Wonder
there.
Woman's pop skipped out on her too, I
Yeah,
think.
man. Spider-Man, like his
Spider-Man
like
lost
Uncle
Uncle
Ben.
Ben.
Yeah, once he lost Uncle Ben, he was on his way.
It
You
was
know.
over. It was over for him, son. He made the choice.
When-
Great power becomes great responsibility. You
yeah,
know?
man.
When I looked at the numbers, I was super excited. Like I said earlier, I was super excited. Then when I looked at the breakdown, I was like, oh man, son, well, we have to be at the bottom.
Yeah,
I was just like, come on, man, 38%. We gotta do better than 38%.
sure.
And just being like, we're blessed to come be two black men from dual parent households.
Sure.
So shout out to the strong single parents out there that are doing their thing, that are raising these kids. So, we can't necessarily speak from that perspective, but we can speak to the perspective of why we feel like it's an important thing. And I saw out of the Harvard Gazette. I read the Harvard Gazette. This might be a first.
Well, yeah. Kudos to you,
Where's
because I've never read the Harvard Gazette.
You know what
So
I'm saying? So it says black children in two-parent homes have higher GPA, lower suspension rates, and a higher college graduation rates.
mm,
So on the flip side, and this is where we know both sides, we had higher GPAs. We went to college. We didn't get suspended. You know what I mean? I can only
I've
speak for
never been
myself.
suspended.
Well, there you go. I've never been
I
suspended
never
either.
never been
So,
suspended. And I can really attribute to having both my parents back home
yes, to having your
to
mother
kick me in my behind if
and your
I
father.
to,
Yeah.
I was afraid that both of them would kick me in my behind if I ever did get in that much
We
trouble to
come
get
from the
suspended.
straight corporal punishment era, son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's no way
So
I could go home and tell my parents I got suspended. Both
yeah,
of them, yeah.
yeah,
I might have
yeah,
been better off with one parent home if I got suspended.
yeah. But we also know some very, very, very successful people who grew up in a single parent home. It's all individually based. Like, besides just the numbers are the numbers. Like May says, the numbers are the numbers, and Lord knows we would love to get that 38% up.
Right. And
You know what I'm
like you
saying?
said, that's a really good point, because I never want to say anything to diminish like the work of like a single mom or a single dad that's out there
Hmm.
doing it, because there's all sorts of circumstances, man. There could be times where it's not just a choice, where like it could be something where one of the spouses passed away, or
Yeah.
the one parent is passed away or something, or one parent just can't be there for some reason, or like I said, there might be a situation where one parent is like either incarcerated, or whatever the case may be, right? Like
Hmm.
but like you said, like the point is not to diminish any of that, right? Like I think that there's plenty of single parents that have done an excellent job, and you and I, like you said, we know like firsthand examples of young men and women that have been raised by a single parent, and they're
Hmm.
doing very well. Like their parents showed them nothing but love,
Hmm.
and they also had like, and at least in some cases they had kind of the supplement of other adults in their life besides just having a parent that may have lived with them. If they didn't have a parent that lived with them and they only had like one parent in the house, they did have like maybe aunts and uncles or even good family friends that
Yes.
came around. So I don't want to diminish any of that. Like it takes a village to raise a child, like they say.
Absolutely.
And I
Hmm.
think that a lot of people have had that village, and in cases where they didn't have quite a village, they had a really strong single parent that was working their behind off to get them to where they needed to go, right? And
Yeah.
like I said, you and I know firsthand examples of those type of people, and that's not to say anything. There's nothing disparaging about that. There's nothing to diminish that. Like I think that that's excellent too, right? But we're just saying, like, um based on like the our discovery that, hey, the number had ticked up, and we thought like, oh, that's a good
Yeah.
thing. And then
We
when
were
we look,
hyped.
yeah, we were kind of hype about that and excited. And then when you look deeper into it, to know that the number actually is kind of a slight tick up, and over in a historical sense, like I said, like since like the 1960s, it's actually down overall, right? And there's a lot of
Yeah.
reasons for that. I just want to kind of drive that point home, is that like, for the single parents out there, and there's still single mothers out there, still single fathers out there.
Yeah.
Shout out to you. Like, you're doing an excellent job. Like if you're doing that, then
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing, because you're needed.
Yeah.
You're necessary, right? Like, so it's nothing to diminish that at all. This just so happens to
Yeah.
be the
The
discussion
numbers.
because of the fact that the numbers kind of got us excited for people overall, where we
Hmm.
think that the impact of that is really significant, and to know that that's going up, it means like a positive uptick in other type of ways too, right? Like when we
Yes.
talk about education, when we talk about income levels, all the
Hmm.
factors that might lead to people being more willing to make that type of commitment, being able to make that type of commitment where you can kind of have enough money to raise a family, enough stability to take that on, even marriage and the child, right? I think what comes to mind when we think of an uptick in the dual parent household is that all of those factors are improved.
Yeah.
And it just kind of burst the balloon a little bit to find out that that number is just like a slight tick up. So that means that all the other factors that might lead to that type of stability or that type of incentive, so if you will, um, that those numbers are probably only ticked up a little bit.
Yeah. And between the years of 1968 and 2022, single parent homes doubled. That's
Yeah,
overall. Do you know what I'm saying? Which
yeah,
is crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy that that number that between the years 1968 and 2020 that single parent homes have doubled. It's staggering. When you
But
think of it.
it,
Hmm.
it definitely is. But like I said, like I think that number doesn't surprise me that
Hmm.
much when you factor in, like I said, like that data point is one thing, right?
Yeah.
But when you start to correct for a lot of other things that are happening, man, like the cost of living has just gone up since then, right?
Absolutely.
The incarceration rates, unfortunately, there's more citizens in jail from then to now. That number's probably doubled, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
when you think about all that stuff, man, like inflation, the cost of living, um, all those things kind of factor in, right? Education levels.
The Great Recession of 2007 to 2009, I was
Yeah.
reading in one, they were saying that that helped on both sides. It helped
Mm,
and hurt on both sides. So it hurt because people were losing money and keeping that it kind of broke some homes up. And
mm.
that it helped because it put some people together, meaning like, yo, we have to really stick together to make this work
So
because
that's an
it's like
interesting one.
200. Yeah, because it's like 200,000. They said is at average is the average is about $213,000 to raise one child up until the age of 17.
That's interesting, man, that you say that because that's something I've thought about too, right? Like where
Yeah.
on one hand, um, the lack of like a really high or steady income, lack
Mhm.
of education may discourage some folks from taking on something like getting married or even
Mhm.
having a child, right? But then on the other hand, that may be the incentive for people to get together and kind of stay together because of the fact
Yeah.
that living on your own is so so hard.
It's so tough.
Because so you need to have like a two income household, right, in order to make it these days, right? That's an interesting one, man. Because I've thought about that before, how people need to get together. Because when you think about that, married couples are just by the sheer numbers, they're gonna do a little better economically if both of them are working,
Yeah.
if both of them are educated. So I guess that's why when you correct for that, you do get an uptick in the number as well, right? Because there's going to be
Mhm.
a lot of people that factor in, like, hey, if I'm working and
Yeah.
my wife is working, then we can make this work, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, that's an interesting data point, man. Because I'm sure there's people that had to give it a second thought too.
Yes.
When when you're ready, if you were about ready to break up, when you do the numbers, I'm
Do the
sure there's
numbers,
some
the
people that are
math.
like,
When
wait
you
a
do the
minute,
math, it makes
you better
more
make it
sense
work.
mathematically to pay for a counselor, a marriage counselor, than to be separate.
Yeah, when you
You
think
know?
about it, yeah, I'm sure that some people looked at the numbers and were like, hey, let's see if we can make, make this
Yeah, it's really not that
work.
bad.
Let's give it
We
a
can
try.
work through this.
Let's give it a
Uh, f-
try. Still love
yeah,
each other, right?
we still love each other. You know, let's not not break this
Let's
leash,
not
yo.
be
Yeah, break
hasty.
this
Yeah, let's
leash.
not be hasty.
Whoa, 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 whoa. all of a sudden flowers and candy are popping up again. Motivation is where you find it, bro. You want to
Yeah.
find that spark? You want to find that spark in your marriage?
Look at your
Be
tax
broke, yo.
return. Sometimes you gotta rekindle things based on the tax returns.
That's right, man. You gotta make it.
Do the monthly budget, and wait a minute, you know, you want to get that spark back. Let's go over the budget real quick.
Yeah, man. Let's go over the budget. Like, look, if it wasn't for dual parents, like we might not been able to go to private school. You know what I'm saying? Like it took both of our, it took both of our parents.
We might not. We would not.
Yeah, it took both of our parents, yo.
Yeah, there's no way. Like
putting in a lot, putting in that workforce.
Yeah, shout out to them for staying together. Because if it wasn't for that, yeah, I don't know where I'd be if my parents had split up. Nothing would have been affordable. Like nothing that they did for me would have been affordable.
Yeah,
I would have been. Yeah, I would have been a rapper.
Yeah, it'd have been.
I would have had to.
We would have started podcasts a lot earlier in our careers.
Yeah, maybe, man. Like, but they didn't have podcasts. I think we'd have had to rap first. We'd have had to get into.
Yeah, we'd have been battle rappers.
Yeah, would have been. Yeah, we'd have to find some other way. Like it would have had to be some unorthodox way to get it. So. Yeah, shout out to them for that.
Shout out to them. And at the same token, we did go to school with a lot with some guys who grew up in a single parent home, and they were there right with us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So shout out to them. That they did a great job. So maybe I don't even know what to say about that but except for to reiterate that a lot of single parents are doing a great job, and they're working hard, they're working doubly hard sometimes to make sure their kids have everything they need. So I would never diminish or say anything against that, but I just know in my house those two incomes were needed at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to be there, bro. It's always a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look back on it, because personally, I feel that you need both parents. You know what I'm saying? You need both parents in your life. Even if, even if you don't have both parents right there in the household, you do need both parents in your life, because it takes a man to raise a man, but it takes a woman to show that man how to have compassion, how to have empathy. That's my personal opinion. You know what I mean? And it takes a woman to raise a daughter, but it takes a man to show her an example of what a good man is supposed to be for the future. And vice versa. It takes a woman to show her son what a good woman is. So I think it's so important to have both parents in your life at the very least. But if you can have them under the same roof, I believe that, your prospects rise exponentially.
Right. And that's an interesting point too. That's actually a really good point, in that not living in the same household is not exactly, that doesn't mean that the parents are not involved either. So I think that's not an assumption you want to make, or that I want to make at all, right? Like, because that's another thing we should kind of clear up.
That's totally different than the 38 number right there. Like the 38% doesn't mean that it's a deadbeat on one side or the other. So, it's just the numbers.
But that's an important thing to factor in, right? Because that 38%, like I said, the same way like kind of a disruption or interruption doesn't factor into these numbers. I don't think the number of dads that are like not living in the household but still heavily involved is always factored in, right? Yeah. Because there's all sorts of circumstances why like the numbers won't bear that out. But I feel like there's parents that are not living in the home but are very active in their children's lives, right? So shout out to them too, because I know that there's mothers and fathers that may not live in the same house with their child, but they're active in all their activities. They're active in even their day-to-day stuff, like where they come over on a regular basis. They're down for like the meal times, and for the little kids for the bathing time and the reading time and the school visits and all that stuff like that.
Only
like
a text message or a phone call
right.
away. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. Like they'll pop up whenever they need to be, and their regular presence without even being text or called, right? Like so yeah, I just want to factor that in too, because the 38% doesn't really do justice to that either, right? Because I've known people firsthand where they didn't live with their child, and I've known people whose fathers didn't live with them or mothers didn't live with them, but they were active in their lives.
When you just lay the numbers straight down on the table, it doesn't always
tell you gotta be careful.
The full story of what's exactly going on.
Yeah, you got to be careful about how you look at numbers and what how you interpret those things is important.
I know in my house, my mother hand out most of the punishments, and like she's
um, that's
my
interesting.
mother
And I
handed
think
out.
about it.
I
Yeah, I
was
gotta think about
afraid of
that.
my pops, man. My father, to the best of my knowledge, and that's probably because he knocked amnesia into me. I only remember my father like one time. I talked back to my father, and I remember him. I must have been like 9 years old, man, and he
Hmm.
kind of just blindsided me and like rolled me down the hallway, man. One hit, boom, and that was like the only time I tested my father. So he only like really laid hands on me like one time, and it was enough, man. Like I
remember
know,
like
no,
yeah, same here. Like I remember getting a few. I should never
yeah,
say a few. I can only remember like twice that my father really had to lay into me, and both times
yeah,
were justified. But other than that, like I tried to stay on the straight and narrow for that reason, I think. Or at
yeah,
least that was
man.
one of the reasons, right? And to be honest with you, it wasn't like I say that jokingly sometimes, like, oh well, my father, I was afraid. It wasn't exactly that. I almost didn't want to disappoint my parents either.
Yeah,
Like I was one of those type of kids where like I just didn't want them to have to worry about what I was doing, right? Like I honestly, man, because in those in that time period, man, like we're talking about like the 80s and 90s, early 90s. Like so I was trying to make sure that they didn't have me to worry about, right?
yeah,
I was trying to do good in school. I was trying to stay out of trouble as much as I could. Like even, we were outside a lot. We talk about that.
yes,
Like, the kids say, "Oh, I'm outside," but back then there was no choice but to be outside. Like you were
hmm,
outside whether you liked it or not when we were kids.
yeah,
You you were outside sometimes when you might have wanted to be home.
hmm,
You still were outside. Like,
yep.
damn,
You were not
I should
allowed.
have
You were not
should have came
allowed.
outside. there was there might have been some times where you're like, Dad, why not come outside?
What you doing in the house? I was just nah. What are you doing in the house? Nah, I was just I was just actually just leaving back out.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But yeah, go ahead.
Malcolm Jamal Warner had a good quote.
Yeah,
Um, R.I.P. to Malcolm Jamal Warner. We talked about him in our very first episode, but he had a very
yeah,
good quote where I saw, and I'm like paraphrasing this,
sure.
where he said that being a good parent isn't about always like hard disciplining your
Right.
child, like through corporal punishment or spankings, whatever, but it's just
Yeah.
making your child go out in the world loving you so much as a parent that they want to do anything. The last thing they want to do is disappoint you. You know what I'm saying? Like to
Yeah,
know that they
yeah,
let you down. Like
yeah.
to when there's nothing that disappointed me more when if one of my parents looked at me and like I'm really disappointed in you.
Right.
You know what
That
I'm
that
saying?
that hurt.
That's
That almost
almost
hurt.
like
Yeah.
yo, get the strap. I'd rather have the
Yeah,
strap.
yeah.
You
I'd
know
rather
what
you
I'm
beat
saying?
me
So
than to say that. Like, yeah, you're right.
yeah.
And that's kind of where I was coming from as a kid, to be honest with you. Like
Hmm.
I didn't want my parents to have to worry about me. I didn't want them to be disappointed. I was really trying to make them proud, like and I know it sounds a little cheesy,
Yeah.
but that was kind of a lot of my motivation. It wasn't so much out of fear because I know, my pops would beat my behind if something
Hmm.
if I did something that warranted that, right? And so my mother might slap me up if it warranted it, right? Like if I did something, that she felt like rose to that level, but it
Hmm.
was very rare. But I remember it was probably more rare because I was trying to stay just doing the right thing most of the time.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, like I was really trying to do the right thing most of the time, man. Um and like you said, like I've heard that Michael Jamal Warner quote before. Actually, I think it's on his I don't know if you ever heard it. He has an album, right? And I think it's a lot of like spoken word on the
Uh-huh.
album. It's like a poetry album, right? And
Yeah.
in between, and yeah, I highly recommend this too. Like I think it's still on iTunes. It has to be on iTunes. But if you guys go to iTunes, there's a Malcolm Jamal Warner album where it's I forget the name of it. We can look it up, but
Mhm.
it's spoken word poetry, right? And I think it has beats on it. Like I think there's music in it, but there are interludes where he's just talking, almost as if he's answering questions in an interview, and that's where he says that quote that you just said. Like I would only be able to paraphrase it anyway,
Yeah,
but yeah, but you got the gist of it, right? Like you captured the essence of it, which is, you know, you got to love a black child or a black boy so much that he doesn't want to disappoint you, right? Like he goes out in the world just with that on his mind, like that he doesn't want to disappoint you. So
yeah,
he behaves accordingly, right? And you could do that without punishment, without yelling, without all that, you know, without the threat. You do it with love. That's a really good point, because that I feel like a lot of us went out into the world with that, right? Like, and I think
yeah,
for you know, we talk about how we grew up, and part of our growing up was our little crew, our high school friends, right? And I feel like one of the factors that we all had in common was that we kind of went out into the world as kind of like the I don't know how to say this without it sounding cheesy or or corny or like a Marvel movie or something, but it almost felt like we were the ones that our parents kind of sent out into the world to you know we were the bet, you know, like like this
yeah,
is the like this is the one I'm gonna bet on, and I
yeah,
think, you know, this one I'm gonna put all my chips on, on this, because at the
yeah.
time,
I'm
like
going
going to
all
Fordham
in,
Prep,
middle of the
yeah,
table, yo.
yeah, it was like kind of a ridiculous amount of money to pay for our school. It was
Hmm.
kind of a Hail Mary, like to send us to a school like that, and just, hey, like we're all from the Bronx, like we're all from like, you know, kind of we're neighborhood kids,
Yeah.
and I think there was a closeness that developed between certain ones of us, like more so than others, because of the fact that some of us were like just those neighborhood kids
Hmm.
that our parents were kind of betting on, so to speak. And I don't want to sound like they were like waiting for us to bring some money back or something,
They were.
but we were the investment that they were willing to make, like, and say like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm gonna put it all on the line for this kid because I think they're gonna do well out there in the world, and I'm
Hmm.
putting them out there, right? I know it
Yeah.
sounds kind of, you know, I know it sounds kind of corny. It sounds like a gladiator film or something, but when I think about all of us, like all of the, you know, like our closest knit crew out of that, you know, and there was a lot of us when I think about
Yeah.
it. Um, it seemed like each one of us had that as like our common, that was a common factor, a common denominator, was that we were the
Hmm.
one that our parents threw out there, like, hey, this is the one I'm betting on. Like, go out there and make something good happen.
I always felt no matter what I was gonna be, I had to be something. Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like I may not have been what my parents envisioned of me being, but I always was like, yo, I gotta be something. I gotta always do something to make them proud of me, to make them want to say. I always wanted them to say, that's my boy. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like it didn't matter what line of work I went into. It didn't matter how much schooling I had. I always just wanted them to both to be like, that's my boy. And I always make decisions with both of their voices in my head, you
right,
know?
right.
And like I said, when my mother was judge, jury, and executioner, boy. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you need that with the Malcolm Jamal saying you gotta tell them that you love them so much. My mother's answer to that, response to that, sometimes would probably be, well, sometimes love hurts. So
Yeah, I feel you, man. Like, hey,
but
whatever
it wasn't,
works.
it was just it was enough to just keep me in line. You know what I'm saying? And my father was always
Hey,
there, like, yo, what your mother say? You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important to have both of those presents around, because there's no, son, there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. When
right,
there's nowhere to run and there's nowhere to hide,
yeah.
it doesn't matter. So, what did your mother say? Oh man, and you looking over there, and they may console you, put their arm around you, and be like, yeah, but you shouldn't have did that, right? So shout out to my parents, man. It's tough love, it's scared straight, but it was just love. It was just love.
Yeah,
You understand, it's not easy out here. They drilled respect. I learned my respect, how to respect people from watching my parents. I've learned
right,
my work ethic from my parents. A lot of things that I've learned from seeing both of my parents at the same time. I have two examples constantly every day that
sure,
I can look at, that I can see, where it's like, okay, I have one that's constantly here, then one that's maybe jumping in here and there, or maybe one that I only see from a couple of days at a time. It's a little different because you might the one example that you see may become your dominant example for what you see, and you need both sides, you know, the
Sure.
yin and yang, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like you've talked about your father, like they're funny stories, but it's your father like super glue in your shoes, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, these,
Is a reason that I had to become a sneakerhead. Like if I had a therapist years and years
yeah.
ago, I could have like, pinpointed that moment to when I started buying too many pairs of sneakers.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and both of our fathers are from the South, so we have, you know, we grew up with the when I had bare feet and walked 5 miles to school. Like
Yes,
we really learned
those
how to
stories.
appreciate these stories. You know. Side note, like Maine's father, he tells me the funniest story about the mules or the donkeys coming in from work for the end of the day when the donkeys would just come back into work and they didn't care whether you wanted them to work or not. You know, he told me that story like 4 times. Every time I saw him, he told me
He
that
probably
story.
tell you again if he see you soon. He'll
Yeah,
talk.
but,
He'll tell the same
yeah,
stories.
you know, so, but we grew up with an example of hard living.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, we
definitely.
grew like, our parents, to a certain extent, they really got it out the mud.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that. Like people say that as a like a kind of a cool thing to say, but when you think
Uh-huh.
about it, like our parents really lived like with, you know, the bare minimum sometimes, right? Like really,
Yeah,
really meager. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't premium accommodations back when they were growing up, right? So,
yeah,
but yeah, but to your point, man, like one of the good things, and I feel like the positive impact was definitely having like kind of that balance, right? Because I do talk about those funny stories, and they're funny now, but
mhm,
when you look back on it, those are things that having both my parents in the house, I wouldn't have had those experiences, or it might have just been a different outcome than somebody fixing my shoe, or
yeah,
or somebody patching my pants or whatever the case may be. Like,
mhm,
um, there was just and like I said, like even beyond that, there's sort of a balance that was happening in my house that I value very much. I think what single parents are doing is incredible. I think
mhm.
it's doubly hard what they're doing.
Oh my
Um,
gosh,
and I,
yes.
I think that the like I said, like the village that surrounds children, like even ourselves, like we had a village at some point that helped, but
Yeah,
the village that surrounds single parents is incredible as well. And I think it leads
yeah,
to like positive outcomes a lot of the
yeah,
time. It's just that like my personal experience, I have to really, I thank God for like the balance that was in my household. I thank God that both my parents were there sometimes, and sometimes to even kind of temper each other, like because you never know, like my mother, she might think one way, and then my father would be there to kind of like be like, whoa, let's think about this, or
yeah,
vice versa. Sometimes my father might be thinking one way, and that might have saved my behind too. Because
yeah,
I laugh about it. I had a healthy fear of my, like, I'd say all this stuff about love and respect, but I had a healthy fear of my father. Like, there were some things where
yeah,
I would think twice and be like, oh, my father beat my behind if I get into this type of trouble. So
right.
to a large extent, it was because of like love and respect, and I didn't want to disappoint them. But I still had that healthy fear, like that my
Mhm.
he's gonna beat my behind if I do something too out of line, right?
Yeah.
And but the thing is, like, sometimes it might have saved me from that behind whipping or whatever, because my mother was there, or vice versa, because my father was there to be like, kind of like, hey, come here, let's talk, or whatever the case may be, or don't worry about it,
Yeah,
I'll talk
sort
to
of
him. I
buffer.
got it. Sometimes they
Mhm.
buffer, yeah, exactly. Sometimes they buffer and they temper each other, like when and they have the help right there in real time. Sometimes you never know, that might be saving you from a lot of more heartache than you
Yeah,
know, right? So yeah, that's an excellent point, man. Like I
yeah.
thank goodness that they were there, man. Like I'm sure that alone they would have helped out, just as much. They would have made sure that they had a positive
It'd have made
outcome.
it happen.
They would have made it
And
happen, but I'm glad that they had each other to help to help out, So
yeah. And you know, one of the things that we talked about, like a village. One of the things that's kind of discerning to me is the fact that now this is even with like our friends who grew up in single parent homes. You literally really did have a village of people who looked out for you. Like, especially if you was a latchkey kid, you had somebody in your building who was across the hall that looked out for you. I know I had neighbors that if no one was home, if I came home and no one was there, when I was young, they would like just go to Mrs. Such and Such's house. And there was
Mhm.
a trust there. There was a community. There's not a lot of community in general. And this is, you know what? And this goes all down the line. There's just not like, there's not a, the village ain't what it used to be, so to speak.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So especially shout out to those single parents because there's a lot of you out there that you're really, really doing it on your own. Like you don't have a neighbor that you know, or you everybody kind of like mind their own business now, and they look and they see something but they don't say anything, and they
Sure.
turn a blind eye because they don't want to get involved. Like people really got involved with us back in the day. Like I I still have fond memories of my babysitter. You know what I mean?
Right.
And she was at my high school graduation. So we had this very strong social group. So if you had a single parent family, but your best friend it came from a dual parent home, you might be over there all the time. You know, so you
Sure.
do have that male father figure, that default male father figure in your life, and vice
Sure.
versa. You know, so shout out to those men. What is it? The 47% of black men who are single parents raising their children on their own. Single, I think it's 4 to 7%. You know, so shout out
I
to
didn't
you
know. Yeah, I
guys. You
didn't know
know,
that exact number,
always
but
shout
yeah.
out, yeah, always shout out to the black mothers. Always shout out to y'all, man. You know what I mean? Y'all are the backbone. But shout out to those fathers too that are
Yeah,
doing it out there
absolutely.
on your own. I think it's even tougher now to be a single parent. Mine, not even considering all the just the social economics aspect of it all, but it's just the village ain't the village. Like what they say, family ain't family no more. Like the neighborhood used to be family, and it's a very different look that it used to be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there's probably like a lot of factors we could talk about
Mm-hmm.
um on why that is, right? Like there's kind of a breakdown in like the trust of the community. There's and then
Mm-hmm.
all the other factors, like you said, like the socioeconomic factors also impact that too. Like that
Mm-hmm.
community breakdown has a lot to do with like economics. It has a lot to do with education. It has a lot to do with people's kind of sense of individuality over like group dynamics.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, you're right, man. Like I don't know, like it's a sad fact.
Yeah, it's a sad fact, but there are a lot of things that go into um these percentages. But
Right.
I still would like us to get those numbers up.
Yeah, well, even with all that said, like it would
All that
be
said, Joe.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would be positive, like, and I think a step in a positive direction, like we said, with all of the positive impacts that a dual parent household can have,
Mhm.
it would still be nice to see those numbers come up, regardless of any external or internal factors that might be preventing that. Like,
Yeah.
all if all those factors would improve, then I think
Mhm.
there would be an uptick overall in the dual parent household. Is kind of like my takeaway from that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not to say that anybody's situation is good or bad, but I feel like there are positive impacts that just percentage wise are going to lead to an upswing and an uptick in that number, right? So
Mhm. Yeah, because programs are getting cut. That's another thing. We didn't even get into that, how programs are getting cut
yeah, all
every
sorts of
day.
things are happening.
You
Yeah.
know, all sorts of things that are happening where like I played little league. I played all types of sports growing up as a kid. So I had a lot of um besides my father, I had a lot of male figures in my life if I needed one, you know,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
coaches and things of that nature. So there's not a lot of places for kids to go anymore to find that father figure or that mother figure. I was in the Cub Scouts and we had all den mothers. Like they were all women running our Cub Scouts when I was coming up. So
Mm.
we went camping. It was all women. We didn't have a male in sight for as a scout leader for us when I was in Cub Scouts as a little kid. So
Hmm.
these things it's all important to see both sides of the coin. It's very important. I
Absolutely.
also feel that coming from a dual parent household that I do have a certain advantage when it comes to certain areas, you know, like I have feel that sometimes I have a little bit more confidence. I feel like this is just personal. That's not me saying I have more confidence than somebody else, but I just feel like I just have a little bit more confidence because I had two people always rooting me on that was in my corner constantly. Um So I think that's a big factor. I always have somebody to come to talk to. I get a male perspective and I get a female perspective at all times on anything. Also, us personally seeing that and growing up with it, I feel like I feel it was very important for me to be married, you know?
Mm,
And to have my kids to have this experience. So you kind of like, I wouldn't say pay it forward, but you are what you see, so to speak.
sure.
So I really always wanted to be married. I always really wanted to have a wife and have my children in a home with me and their mother. And I never wanted to be that father that I was a weekend dad, or I had to go to court and I had to fight for rights and things of that nature. I was just like, that might be why I waited so long to get married, because I was like, yo, I got to make it work. I got married as an old man, so I just wanted to merely make sure that I found the right person. So it was really important for me seeing
Mhm.
that. I grew up with my parents. I grew up with
Right.
my grandparents on my mother's side. I saw these things. I have my aunts and uncles. They were married. Majority of them were married. So I saw all these things, and it's just like a continuum, like you said. Hmm.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And to a certain extent, I think that um some folks will emulate the positive example, where like you're saying, like
Hmm.
you wanted to emulate the example that you saw growing up. But on the flip side of that, like I know quite a few people that I grew up with that didn't grow up in a dual parent household
Hmm.
that wanted to be married for the opposite reason, right? Like they wanted to kind of how, like black people always say like we're breaking generational curses, like
Yeah.
we kind of use that as a saying in general about whether it comes to economics or family dynamics, whatever the case may be. Um, a lot of times we'll say that, right? But I know quite a few people that they didn't grow up with both their parents in the household, and that kind of motivated them to make sure that when they found the right person, that they settled down and that they got
Hmm.
married and that they had a family in a traditional sense, because they wanted to be different than what they grew up experiencing, right? So I could kind of, at least from an observer's point of view, I could see
Hmm.
kind of how both results could pan out,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
you're right, like you want to emulate those positive examples, but some people are kind of seeing what they don't want as they're growing up,
Hmm.
or some of the circumstances that may have impacted them negatively, and they
Yeah.
decided that they didn't want their child to go through that same thing, so they were very intentional about one who the selection of who they're going to pick to get married,
Hmm.
the timing and whatever other circumstances go into it. They were really intentional about that, and then really intentional about the fact that they wanted to have a traditional family and be kind of real time, full time, in the
Yeah.
household, right? So yeah, I can see both sides
Yeah.
of how that could shape you, right?
Yeah. Turn a positive into a positive,
Yeah,
continue a positive, and turn a negative into a positive. You know what I'm
right.
saying? When you look at those both aspects of that. You got anything else to add? I think we're done.
Well, now that we're no, I don't. No, actually, I don't, man. Like, I think it's a good conversation, man. It's kind of
Mhm.
a tough one in a way,
Yeah,
because, like I said, like the numbers are very like jarring at first, but
yeah,
then when you dig a little deep into it, there's kind of more nuance all the time to these type
yes,
of things, right? And I think that's one of the takeaways too. Like when you see statistics and data, it's very necessary that you ask yourself, like, one, how did we get here? How do we come to
yeah,
this conclusion? And then what are all the factors that may have led to this number? And
mhm,
then what are we leaving out? Like
yeah,
what are we not saying when we say these raw numbers
yeah,
out like this, right? Because um, they could be misleading to a certain extent, right?
yeah. The
So that's
numbers are
that's
the
kind of
numbers and the facts are the facts, but they don't always tell the full story.
right, exactly, exactly. There's
Mhm.
always there's always more to it than what you're seeing on the surface. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of my takeaways as well.
yeah. But on the real too, though, we really need to bring back those Black love movies, yo.
Well, that goes without saying. Even if the numbers were up,
The
I want
numbers
to
are up.
I want to
We
see.
need those back, son.
Yeah,
We need
I
to
want to
put
see
those.
more. I want to
Yeah,
see
we
Love
need to put
Jones
that
too.
on. Yeah, son. We need to see that. We need to see
I
that
want to
Love
see
Jones too.
I want to see Lorenz Tate and Neil Long and Love Jones too.
And some R&B back, man. We need some classic
We need some
R&B back.
classic
Just so we get
R&B.
some. Yo, son, you know my pet peeve, man.
I know you used to say like I don't like cursing in my R&B like
I
that.
don't like cursing in my R&B, son. You know.
That's so funny, man. Lately, I've been like when I on my way to work. Sometimes if like sometimes me and my wife driving together, like in
Uh-huh.
town or whatever. But if I'm by myself in the car, I've been listening to lately 80s hits. Like
Yes.
I just on iTunes you could just get a whole playlist of 80s R&B hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm listening to the music. I'm like, wow, this is a really different vibe than
Yes,
and
man.
of course everything evolves and everything gets a little more advanced and everything kind of like goes with the times. But I'm like, wow, these songs were really about love and some of the songs got freaky or whatever, but
Yeah.
it felt like there was more of a good time being like
Yeah,
like
son.
or it was songs where men were really like begging or
Yo, pouring their heart out for
like
their
yeah, they
lady,
were
son.
really really like
You know?
I mean, getting on one knee,
Yeah, man.
yeah, like it
They
was
were
a
really
it
pouring their heart out.
was a big difference. And even when I think about like you don't even have to go back too far. Like you could go into the early '80s, right? But even when you bring it back, when you bring it up to more recent, like in the '90s and stuff like that. Like I was listening to even like Jodeci,
Yo, the Jodeci joint, the
like
Diary of the
even though
Madman.
yeah, even those songs, man,
Come on,
like
son.
one song, like you remember that song with it with the video with it in
In the desert?
the desert with the leather
Yeah,
on,
man. In the hot
and
leather in the desert.
and Casey's like, it's been an hour since you've been gone. Like,
That's too long,
I'm like
so come
one,
back
like
home.
yeah, like she's been gone 1 hour. She went to Costco and you got on a leather
Yo, son,
in the
a
desert.
leather vest in the desert with your
She,
boys.
she when all your boys, you had to call all your boys. Like, oh man, she's gone. She's been gone
Yeah,
for a
man.
whole hour.
Yeah, son. That's too long, so come back home, yo. You know what I'm saying?
This lady,
Cry for You. Is it the song Cry for You? I think the name of the
yeah,
song.
I
Yeah,
think
that's the
so.
Cry for You song.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
this
Like the
lady went
R&B, son.
shopping and he went out into the desert with leather on.
Yo, and we were good with it because they were wearing leather, so it looked like, yo, he's crying about his woman, he wants her
Oh
back, but
man,
yo, he's
she
wearing
was gone.
leather
Man,
in
she
the
was
desert,
gone
son.
for
That's
1
gangsters.
hour.
1 hour, son. 1 hour. And he called his 3 boys. It was like, yo, she's been gone for an hour, son. I don't know what to do. They was like, yo, let's have a meeting.
Yeah, let's go meet in the desert, son.
Yo, mine too. I think they all together. Yo, let's go have a meeting of the minds about this. Tell me how you feel, bro. Tell me how you feel. So, we need
Make
to
sure you
get back to
all wear
that,
your
bro.
leather. Nah, shout out to Jodeci. I'm joking around,
Yo,
but
shout
yeah,
out to
the point is like
Jodeci, son.
the music back then had more like love and feeling to it than I feel like
Yeah. It was
like
like,
you
let's
could
not be
still
too tough. Let's not be too, I'm not too
yeah.
tough to tell you I love you,
You
son.
could still find that to a certain extent, but you have to kind of search a little bit more for it. Like the more popular songs are more
Yeah.
about partying or how much money you have or get in my car and I'm gonna
Yeah.
take you back to the house and this is what we're gonna do. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Step by step.
that's all good. It's more like you said it too. You were like, it's more like rap songs, but like put to R&B
To
music
R&B
sometimes,
music, son. Yeah. I do not like cursing in my R&B, son.
Yeah, it feels
We
like
need to
somebody's
bring that
singing.
old smooth groove back,
Yeah,
son.
it feels like they're just singing rap songs now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, and we need to start another thing. This is a quick rant. We need to stop acting like we don't need each other too. Because
Yeah.
somewhere down the line, like we have the females on one side and the males on one side, and we're acting like too tough to get together. We need to stop acting like we don't need each other. Like I don't need a man and I don't need a woman because we need each other. So that's the rant, yo.
Yeah,
Make love great again.
See this
son.
look on my face? This is the look that says, "Hey, I thought we weren't going to go there on these podcasts and start talking about the gender wars and like, nah, but no." I thought we weren't going to be that podcast, but no, I'm joking. I'm joking. Nah.
You know?
Next, we're going to be talking about dates at Cheesecake Factory.
Gosh.
And is Cheesecake Factory an acceptable date for the first date?
Tune in next on the Gen Expertise Show. Yeah, no, but
how much should a man make before he starts dating? Should a man make 6 figures before he expect? Nah, I'm just messing around.
We just playing, but really,
we're not going there.
We're not going there. But we both are in agreement that, you know what I'm saying? We need to be together, yo.
You know absolutely. It goes without saying. It's obvious. Like I guess, saying. Just to reiterate the point. Like I'm joking around a few minutes ago, a second ago, but yeah, it's obvious, man. Like men and women need each other. Like find love. And try to hold on to it if you find it, right? Like that's my real takeaway, man. Like if you find love, hold on to it and hold it tight and do what you can to preserve it and honor it and all that stuff, because it's only going to lead to positive outcomes if you do, right? Mm-hmm. So Black love, all love, you know.
That's right.
All love, man. Never mind.
Never mind.
Never mind. You know what?
So,
love each other.
Love each other.
Peace be unto you. Peace be unto you.
This concludes our latest episode of the Gen Expertise Podcast. Shout out to our now day 34s, our day ones, and everybody in between. And as usual, and as always, shout out to our day one.
Absolutely.
That's right. And you know what, man?
Since we are prolific.
That's right, my man, the most enthusiastic man in the game. Since we are prolific, we will be here same Gen X time, same Gen X place next week. And we'll see you then for episode 35. We got another good one for you. Or until then, power to the podcast.
Power to the podcast.
Peace.
Peace.